Hey everybody, I'm Katie Arroyo.
And I'm Laura Manasowicz.
And this is
Pinky Promise.
A
The podcast about
growing up.
We're just do the whole thing together today.
We keep nailing that.
Yeah. Even when we practice ahead of time, it gets worse. We have with us today an incredibly special guest. We have comedian, talent booker, producer, host of the Broadish show on YouTube, and creator of the one-woman show, The Miserable Mrs. Madison. Felicia Madison is with us today, folks. Hooray!
Thank you for having me. This is so
Thank
exciting.
you for being here. Yeah. We are so excited to have you.
I can't remember the last time I did a pinky promise with someone.
Right? We pinky promise to only share it with every person that's willing to listen.
That's right. My favorite feedback of the show so far has been like people are like, "You've unearthed something for me." Like I completely forgot this adolescent memory. I'm like, please tell us about it. We'd love it.
Well, we had Leah Bonema on, and she was like, "I went to church camp," and that's what she wanted to talk about. And halfway through the episode, I go, "Oh my God, I went to church camp. I forgot." And it's supposed to be in my podcast.
She brought back bad memories.
Yeah, I was like, I'm like, oh yeah, we were praying at that flagpole.
Yeah.
Long suppressed memories.
Yeah.
That's right. So she's like the only person. She was like, I have great memories of church camp. And we're like, I think you're the one. I think you're the only one who does. But happy to have her. But today we're talking about growing up around rich kids.
Yeah.
Right? There's probably a catchier way to say that, but that's the gist of it.
Yeah, I haven't. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy story. Yeah, unfortunately, my kids are now growing up around rich kids because I now have rich kids. So.
Listen, if that's how the story ends, then that's a good ending.
I know. I was so traumatized. And I was so enamored by them. I'm like, I have to have rich kids.
If you can't beat them, have your own.
Yeah. So I grew up in New Jersey, and I always say that my life was perfect until 8th grade.
Okay.
I was like I was defining trauma. I peaked in 7th grade, basically.
It happened.
Usual.
Yeah. So we lived in a nice neighborhood, and I was probably one of the poorest people in my neighborhood, but they were all pretty middle class, and I was just a little bit lower middle class.
Yeah. Did your parents did they put you in that neighborhood specifically for like a school reason, or did you guys just end up there?
They just moved to New Jersey, and we lived right over the George Washington Bridge, so it was close enough for my dad to get to work. And the neighborhood was fine, and the schools I went to were fine until 8th grade. So, basically my dad was uneducated. His father died when he was very young, and he had to raise his mother and his sister.
Wow.
And he went to the Navy. It was my one-woman show was all about this, and I said he went to high school. He didn't go to college because that's before they realized with ADD and Adderall you can maybe go to Harvard.
Oh.
So he had dyslexia, and he became a mechanic. So he was a manual laborer. He had a tattoo, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then in 7th grade, they pulled me out of my school that I was very happy in, and they sent me to a private school because they wanted me to have a great education.
Yeah.
The public school that my brothers went to was a little bit on the decline, and that was sort of the start of my demise. And I knew on the first day of school when I was pulling up in my dad's beat up blue van that said Mechanics Business Machines on it. And there was like a Mercedes in front of me and a Rolls Royce behind me, that something wasn't right.
Yeah. Just different.
Yeah, just different. So, and needless to say, the girls weren't too excited when I showed up.
I'm sure, because I bet you were really pretty. And they were like, "This is a serious girl."
And I was super skinny. I know people hate it. I was one of these skinny girls. Like I remember, I'm going to date myself now, but like Fiorucci jeans came out. And they were like the rave. Everyone was getting them, and I was a size 0, and they didn't come in 0.
Oh. Coveted.
That's why I can't get these. They're too big.
So, saved by being skinny.
When I was in high school, we moved to Jupiter, Florida for 1 year of junior year of high school. And Jupiter, Florida is right outside West Palm Beach. And
that's where my husband's from.
Okay. So we moved from upstate New York to West Palm Beach, where my like the friends that my best friends that I made in that area, I would go to their house, and I had to get buzzed into the neighborhood by a person who answered the phone in the home. Otherwise they wouldn't let you in the neighborhood. And their neighborhood, Burt Reynolds had a home there, Celine Dion had a home there, and I was in my Toyota Sentra that was like, the muffler was about to go. And I remember I went to their house for 3 full months before I figured out that their house was on a corner, and there would be this huge house, and then I would turn the corner, and then go into the pool house, which was where they lived, because their mom had passed away from cancer. It was such like a soap opera. Like their mom had passed away from cancer, and their dad was too busy. So the mom's best friend took them in, but the mom's best friend's husband was like, I'm not that into you, like having the kids, so they can live in the pool house, which was like my whole house from upstate New York. And it took me 3 months before I realized those were the same properties. That's how large they were. And so I kind of had the same thing as you, Felicia, where I was like, we're fine. I have a car. I'm doing great. And then we moved from upstate New York, and my friends were like, oh, you're not driving because we're not going to be in that car. Which I guess worked out. But I remember like the same thing, pulling in the parking lot, and there were Beamers and Mercedes, and everyone that you talked to, they were just like, my mom's boyfriend bought that for me because he wants me to like him or whatever. And I'm like, well, my dad bought this for me. He doesn't like me, I don't think. This car's gonna die.
Very impressionable as kids, and very aware of stuff like that. And even the fact that my dad had a tattoo, and was a manual laborer, and he always used to have like, not grease on his hands, but he's always, you could just
get working hands.
Working hands. And it was, I hate to say it, but and there is a moral to the story that turns around in the one woman show, but I was embarrassed by him, which a horrible thing in retrospect to say, but as a child, I don't know why I'm surprised, because I embarrass my kids every day.
Now you're like, oh yeah, that's part of life.
It's what a parent's supposed to do.
So were you and your dad close before you switched schools? Like, was it a shock for him, for you to kind of be like, maybe drop me off down the corner?
Yeah, it was kind of course he wanted to drop me off. We had a strangely close relationship. When he passed away like 5 years ago, and my 2 brothers gave a eulogy, and I gave a eulogy, and someone said, like, did you guys grow up in the same family? Because I had such a more loving daughter, Princess Pussycat, he called me, than they did. And so he loved me the way he knew how. I mean, he didn't have a father, and he didn't have money, so he worked very hard to provide for his family, which is what he, in his mind, thought a parent was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Because that's what he did. So that's the turnaround. At the end, I realized, like all he did and all he sacrificed and to, get me that education and send all 3 of us to college. And
which was a pretty big feat also.
No debt, no nothing. And he, it's just hard being a parent. I joke that, my mom always used to tell me, don't become just a mom. It's a thankless job. And I'm like, it's thankless. It's thankless because you did such a lousy job, is what I said to her. I said, I'm going to do it right. So I had 3 kids, and I realized that she was right. It's a thankless job.
You're like, damn it.
Yeah, it's hard.
So when you got to the school, was there like, did you have one arch nemesis in the school, or did you like?
There was actually another girl there named Felicia.
Oh no. Nope. Only room for one.
Yeah.
And she was not happy.
She's like, I'm the Felicia.
I ruined her uniqueness. But it was just a matter of not. Yeah. Also, I came in 7th grade, where most of the kids came in 8th grade. I mean, sorry, I came in 8th grade. Most of the kids came in 9th grade. So I was the only new kid. In 9th grade, a bunch of my other friends from my old school came. So I was like the only new kid.
Yeah.
And these kids had been together since kindergarten.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, hello. It's another Felicia that's super skinny and kind of cute. And
in like the most awkward and like I feel like 7th and 8th grade especially, and 9th is like the most like fight or flight, like survival of the fittest. Like you just want to blend in. If
Everything's
you can't
changing.
excel, you
Yeah,
just
you
don't
just
want to be
noticed.
yeah.
Yeah, but again, I really do think I peaked in 7th grade. That was a really good year.
I can remember.
When I look back at my childhood, I think of like, yeah, 7th grade. That was good.
You're like, I was ruling the school.
High school, not so good. But also, that's the other thing I learned is like, I don't think high school is really good for anyone.
No. Even the people that you think are having a fun time, the way that they remember it is like very stressful, is what I found.
Yeah.
So did you so you had a core group of friends from 7th grade, and then were they kind of neighborhood kids, or were they in the school when they lived somewhere else?
Well, in my old school in 7th grade, we all grew up in Englewood Cliffs, it was called.
Okay.
So we were all very similar. All, we'd walk to school. We were friends since we were little kids. And I had a nice, good group of friends. And, I had a boyfriend in 7th grade, all through 7th grade.
Really, we're crushing it.
Yeah, you.
and it was great. I did have one nemesis in 7th grade, this one girl who was a little bit of a bully. And she was bullying me, and then like the real bully came, and she defended me.
Ooh.
So that was
bully
cool.
defended you against the fake bully.
Wow.
That's nice. Yeah. You were cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, she's behind me.
Like, repeat that. Say that one more time.
It was simpler times back then, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for sure. But also, I feel like it was simpler times, but also probably just as terrible to have to switch schools. And then the kids that were in your 8th grade school, were they in your neighborhood, or were they completely?
They were from all over the place, but mainly from the town next door, and like a couple of towns next door that were a little bit more ritzy.
Yeah.
But it's funny, if there were Instagram when I was going to school, I would have never let my parents send me there. I would have scrolled through these people and been like, there's no way I'm going to this school. I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
We had like our town got shit on a lot, and I will defend my town till the end of time, but everybody thought that like our schools were bad, blah 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 blah. And so we had our public high school, and like town over was the Catholic high school. And so people who, we weren't especially a money town, but we were like neighboring money towns, right? So everyone would be like, I'm going to send my kids to this private high school because it's better. It's like, those kids are rich and they're all on drugs. Like everybody at our high school, the best we can get is weed. And if anybody's doing anything more than that, I don't understand it. So I don't know. But the kids at that school have so much more money. They're all coked out. Just like,
I had the same thing. I had a friend that came from a wealthier private school, and she just transferred to public school for whatever reason. And I remember we were hanging out, and then I got in trouble for shoplifting. And my mom was like, if you don't straighten up, I'm going to send you to that private school. And I obviously didn't say anything to her, but I was like, that girl knows what a blowjob is, and I still thought it involved blowing. So like, you can send me there, but
bad kids.
Yeah,
You're fine in public school.
Yeah,
I like how private school's a threat,
right? She was like,
Not anymore. Now it's like
now it's a reward. She was like, you better shape up
on this. You'll get in.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, I'm going to spend a lot of money to send you to college and
to torture you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I rewatched Cruel Intentions last night and was like, this is a lot. Like when I watched it as like a however many teen-year-old, I was like, wow, is this what it's like? And then I was watching it last night. I was like, everyone's a monster in this movie. We hate everybody.
Yeah, I like to think that like the mean girls grow up, but they don't.
No.
And not if they don't have to. Like unless there is like something that forces them to, they'll just
it's like I sometimes my daughter complains to me, and then I complain to my mom, and my mom tells my daughter like the same things are happening to her at 80 in her 80s. And we're like, this is not cheering us up.
Yeah.
You mean we never outgrow this? Is that what you're telling us?
So forever. There's going to be
the rest of our lives?
Yeah, there's going to be a Felicia forever.
Different ones, different sizes and names and shapes and forms. There's always.
Is your daughter in high school now?
What?
Is your daughter in high school now?
No, my youngest is a freshman in college.
Oh, okay. Okay. College girls, not much better.
No.
Stuff.
No, it's surprising, and the social media is just, I mean, I have a hard time with social media. I joke around like I wake up in a good mood and I stroll through social media for like 10 minutes and I'm depressed.
Yeah, I cannot even imagine that.
I know, and I can't imagine being a kid growing up with that. It's just like, it's just not real.
No. And you had to be cool for like 8 hours in school. And now you have to present cool 24 hours a day. Which I know adults that cannot handle it right now. And I couldn't imagine having the psyche of like a 14-year-old and then feeling like I need to be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're so much cooler than
they definitely are.
They have to be. And we've like talked about it a little on here. It's like we sort of like came into it as it was happening, like we sort of like learned as it was coming out, and like kids today have just always had it, so it's just like they were made cooler than us because what was available to them has already like always been there and cool.
My daughter always says to me though, which is interesting, she says, I wish I grew up when you were growing up. It just so much simpler.
Yeah, she's not wrong, because I feel like that idea of you don't ever get a break from competing with everyone that you're in school with. Whereas we would get a break. We would go home and like only hang out with our friends or only hang out with our family. You know what I mean? And just be like, okay, I got a break from Felicia. And then the next day you have to come in and you're like, there's Felicia. But now you're like, I have to see what Felicia's doing.
Yeah. I remember being in high school and calling one of my best friends, and we'd be just talking on the phone and be like, can you come to my house? And she's like, my mom won't drive me. Can you come to my house? My mom won't drive me. And that was the end of our night. Like, okay, bye. No, there was no entertainment. We couldn't watch TV till 8 o'clock. So it was
you had to have an imagination.
I had an imaginary friend growing up.
Yeah. You had to.
I had a twin sister. I always wanted a sister, so I had an imaginary
twin sister?
Yeah.
That's nice. What was her name?
I don't think I got that far.
Okay. She wasn't going to steal your spotlight. She was going to be there.
Yeah. I had boundaries for her.
You're there to be a supporting role.
So then it's too real.
So 8th grade was new school, new world. How long did it take you to sort of like acclimate or like get your new crew, or how did that all work out?
It was kind of, I don't think I ever really did. I mean, I did have like a best friend, and then one of my other friends came over. So the three of us were good friends. And I was kind of like just friends with everyone, but not really great friends with anyone.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was an athlete, so that's what I did. And I also had a job, so I was pretty busy.
Yeah.
Were you excited to go to the new school? Like, did you go into it thinking, this is great, I'm going to go to this great new school, and then you kind of...
No, I was miserable.
Like, you didn't want to move at all to begin with.
Well, also because I not to repeat myself, but I really liked 7th grade.
Yeah. Out don't blame you. It sounds amazing.
And they all graduated together in 8th grade.
Yeah.
So they had like their 8th grade graduation. They had their 8th grade yearbook. They get together. They have their 8th grade reunions.
Yeah.
It was like so traumatized. It was really like a formative, traumatizing
Yeah.
in my life. I don't know what the long term effect are. Maybe like the twitch I have, but the slight limp on my right side. I don't know.
Other than that, I'm totally fine.
Yeah.
So in 9th grade, did the 7th grade friends come to your school, or did they?
Some of them did.
Some did.
Some of them did. So that was a relief.
Yeah.
Having some of my friends come in, and they became, and then again, I was like Superwoman because like I knew all these people, and I was the person that introduced them to everyone.
Yeah.
So
the curve started going back up in 9th grade. In 9th grade, you got it back a little.
Yeah, but it was like really like waspy, like with some of them. I don't even like they had like the duck shoes and the green pants and the argyle sweaters and the and I was kind of like I marched to my own, I shopped like in Loman's and the discount stores, and I had to I put together concoctions that some of them were pretty questionable.
Sure. I was just have like a clothing crush that you couldn't get. Like I wanted like a specific type. I wanted 7 jeans. I remember for so long. And then I couldn't get them until I was in college, and I just bought them myself. That was like the ultimate jeans that I really wanted. And then I wanted that stupid Tiffany choker that was like the thick choker with the heart. I wanted it so bad. And I bought a fake one when I was in Florida. And when I went back home to upstate New York, they were like, that necklace is so cool. And I was like, oh, it's fake Tiffany. But they were so behind that they just that was like a thing.
New York hadn't gotten to Florida's fashion trends.
No, West Palm had not gotten there.
Yeah, well, I worked a lot of jobs, and my mom also worked, so she kind of spoiled me a little bit. If there was something I wanted, I would buy it myself.
Yeah.
But I did have a defining moment. Also, it happened to be in 7th grade. It was like not a good thing, but it was the bar and bat mitzvah year.
Yeah.
And I remember shopping for dresses, and I fell in love with a dress. I was just like, I wanted this dress. This is the dress I want.
Yeah.
And my mother said, well, you could have the dress, or you can invite 2 more people to your bat mitzvah.
Oh. What does the dress look like?
And to this day, it's why I hate making choices. I'm like, why can't I? So this day, my husband gives me a choice. I'm like, why can't I have both? I want
the dress and the
both.
2 friends.
Yes.
Yeah. Which one what did you choose?
Not only both, I want all 3. Okay. I chose the friends, and I had this really ugly Laura Ashley dress that I wore. High neck with the lace, you know. And the other one was like kind of like white, and it was kind of very Cinderella-ish.
Yeah.
Which is funny now that I think about it. I kind of had a dress like that for my prom.
You got it back. You were thinking about it. You made the right choice, though.
If you chose the dress, the 2 friends would have like made your life hell, right?
It was a bad choice because like I don't remember the friends, but I remember the dress.
That's fair. In retrospect, yeah, that's legit.
I don't have no idea who the 2 friends that I invited, and
That's
I'm sure you're right. They're probably mean girls.
You're like, it's for the best.
I hope their dresses were shitty too.
Well, those were the 7th grade girls, so
right.
They were long gone.
It's amazing how you only remember the bad stuff.
It is weird it's weird what you remember, because we've been doing this podcast, and so other people will tell us their distinct memories, and they're things that I've totally forgotten about, and then once they bring it up, I'm like, oh my god, yeah, that was a whole part of my life that I thought was like that dress. I had a prom dress that I bought, and it was a blue Cinderella type dress, and same kind of thing. And I thought like, oh, this is going to be great. It had like a tight bodice, and it like puffed out. And then I got home, and I can't remember the store that it was from, but it was one of the ones where like, it was like the fancy prom dresses were sold there. So it was like a big deal. My mom was like, we're going to splurge and get you this dress or whatever. And then I got home, and I put it on again, and I was like, I don't think I'm a Cinderella dress person. Like, I don't think I can pull this off. And I like walked around the house and it would like catch on things. So like 2 days before prom, we went back to the mall, an hour away to return the stupid fucking dress. And I bought like a plainer black dress with a low cut. And I was like, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. If you want to talk about times changing, just look at what girls are wearing to prom now.
I know it is. Their dresses are the most beautiful things, and they're sexy. Like they're
not Cinderella-y.
No.
Sometimes they're in 2 pieces, which blows my Puritan mind. I'm like, what do you mean? It's a bikini dress.
It's craziness. Yeah.
They're dressed like Prince Charming's younger second wife. Like,
yeah. Housewives of whatever city they're in.
Yeah.
That's right. High school. Yeah. Kate, I had a very similar, like, for my senior last prom go round. It was like we got to go to the mall, the big mall in the next state, and go to the Jessica McClintock.
That's
store,
what it was.
It was like,
it was a woman's name.
And I was like, this is living. Like, this is luxury. I had like a ice blue satin.
Mine was ice blue.
It was like not at all anything that feels like something I would wear now, but I was like, you can't tell me I'm not the shit in this dress. Like,
I could see your Instagram posts already, the 2 of you in your ice blue dresses.
Yes. And I was
fighting
like,
over who wore it.
You get in that fucking store and you turn into like, I was like, the poofier, the better. I want the biggest dress. Like, and that is not, as soon as I got home, I was like, what? That's not you. You don't even have boobs. Like, I was like, what are you doing?
Like, but this didn't come from Macy's, so suck it.
Oh God.
Yeah.
So when you got to 8th grade, did you because your friends didn't show up till 9th grade, so did you have any like life support friends that you met in 8th grade, or were you just kind of flying solo and just like trying to get through the year?
I ended up making one really good friend that I'm actually still friendly with now.
That's nice.
Yeah. And she was just like a super nice rich girl. they come in all different shapes and forms.
Yeah.
But I was, they were just like cliquey, and it's not like I wasn't friends with, I was friends with everyone, but not, I said this already, not good friends with anyone.
Yeah.
So, and I was on sports, so sports was always helpful.
Yeah.
You have your teammate and your camaraderie, and I was an overachiever, so I studied. I said, I studied, I worked hard, I went to a good college and succeeded the old-fashioned way. I married my boss.
Yes. Perfect.
Yeah, but I didn't marry my boss because he wouldn't leave his wife.
You're like, I got.
That's a whole other podcast, though.
That's another one-woman show.
That's dealing with the effects of adolescence into adulthood podcast.
Yeah. Definitely had daddy issues.
That's awesome. Did you have so like when I moved to Florida, I was just turned 16, and we were in upstate New York, so we had people that had money, but it was like upstate New York money. And then when you go to when I went to Florida, I would tell people that I was from New York, and they would be like, oh yeah, we have a home there. And they meant like we had this huge brownstone in Manhattan that's like our second home, and then we also have this ginormous house in Florida. And for us, I was like, oh yeah, like our version of money was like, your dad has an old T-Bird in the garage and you guys have a jacuzzi. So like, there was a different, I found the girls that I went to high school with in Florida had like a different level of sophistication. Like I had, and they were nice. Like I didn't really have like a bullying issue, but I was definitely, I remember like the 2 girls I was closest friends with were twins, and one twin, for Hanukkah, we were just like hanging out in their bedroom, and she just throws this bag at her friend, and it was a Prada bag, and she goes, oh, here, happy Hanukkah, and just like tosses it to her. And I was like, how much is this bag? And she goes, oh, it was like $500. And she just bought that with like her petty high school cash. And I'll never forget, I go, what? This bag is so much money. And she goes, Katie, it comes with a lifetime guarantee. And I go, so do Jansport book bags.
And that's where her comedy career began.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, that's how we're going to get in because I'm not going to be able to afford that bag.
Yeah, it's funny because you bring up a good point is that they weren't really mean. I think it was a very self-imposed insecurity on
it could have been. Yeah, I had the same issue.
I always felt like something was off or I didn't belong.
Yeah.
And it was a defining moment because that insecurity has, been with me.
I was just going to say,
life.
Do you think you still feel it now?
Yeah, I totally do. I mean, I have a story where I wanted this bag, talking about bags.
Yeah.
And I saved up all my money and I finally bought the bag. And I was so proud of myself. And I went to a luncheon. That's my life. And everyone was putting their bags like in a row and they all had bought like the different version, the next, like my bag was passé already.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I can't do anything right. I bought the wrong fucking bag.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you're like, I'm an adult. Why do I care?
Why do I still care about this?
Yeah. The first bonus I ever got at work, I spent on a Coach bag and it was the same. It was like, look at, I'm doing it. I've bought this and I bought it in like the stain resistant fabric because I was like, know thyself, bitch, you get one. And like I was like at the outlets with my friends and we like walked into the Coach store and the woman was like, the sale items are in the back. And we were like, get out, no us. Like we were just so hurt by it. And we're like, well, thank you so much. That's where we need to be looking. Like we can't.
What's funny is recently my daughter was back from college and she needed some bags and she was looking through my closet, which is her favorite pastime. And she was digging back and she found the bag. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe you have this bag. And like, she's like, how come you never wear it? And I never wore it. I put it
after the luncheon?
Luncheon shame.
Oh my God.
It was a combination of that and like, I was like afraid to wear it.
Yeah.
It was like, I didn't want to like dent it or.
Yeah.
So I just like tucked it up and stored it in the back of my closet. And never wore it.
You're like,
give it a resurgence. Let it out.
Everything comes back eventually, right?
Yeah. I know. I remember going to Florida and they were the two girls that like took me under their wing. They were so it was like a TV show. Like they were just like, you're really funny. You could be pretty, but we got to do something. She's like, you got to have to shave those arms. Like they were, they were very like, no, Katie, you can't do that. You need to do this. Like, what are you doing? We got to bleach our mustaches. Like they were just like it was like some kind of like teeny bopper 90s movie, but instead of a hot guy giving me a makeover, it was like these two Jewish twins that were just like, no, like, no, honey, we're gonna fix you. And like, I remember I would come back to upstate New York, and I was so, even being behind in Florida, I was so ahead of upstate New York because they hadn't even gotten to where they were like, we don't even shave above our kneecaps. And I was like, oh, my whole body is hairless. Like, we've already worked out entire, there's a plan for this.
It reminds me of a story when I was at camp and I wrote to my mom, can you please send up bras? Everyone here is wearing bras.
Yeah.
I didn't develop until I think I was like a junior. I still haven't developed boobs, but
you're like, I'm waiting. It's gonna happen.
I'm waiting for those, implants sometime soon.
Yeah.
That's the trade-off of the zero genes.
Yeah, I always used to wear like backless dresses because if you don't have a front, at least I had a good back.
Yeah.
I didn't understand. Like I would try and my mom would be like, ma'am, like you have to have a bra somewhere in there. And I'd be like, well, surely there's a way because they wouldn't make this if you didn't, if you couldn't wear something with it. And it's like, that's just not the way backless clothes work. And like you can wear a bra that's incredibly painful, or you can wear no bra and be incredibly uncomfortable all night. Like in a different way. Like these are your options.
It's like those shirts aren't for you, honey.
Yeah.
Your shirt dip in the front.
Yeah, it's like I went to a wedding once, and I was wearing a dress, and someone else came in with the same dress,
Oh.
and yeah, and she had big boobs, and I'm like, that's how it's supposed to look.
That is the worst when you're like, oh, it's supposed to hang that way.
That's what was missing. Now I understand.
Okay.
Thank you for showing me. Please leave.
Yeah, you can go now. So did you have, when you were in 8th grade, did you have anything that you coveted, like the whole, like, was there something that the other girls had that you were just like, I want this, like, I need this, like, I really wanted a Prada purse because my friends
Yeah,
had a
I don't
purse.
even think they had these little bags that were wood handles and like different bottoms with like
like embroidery type
yeah, they were like different bottoms that would like button onto them.
Oh, yes.
And they would switch out, and that was it was like, back then I don't think it wasn't as showy back then. Like it was like Fiorucci was the big thing. I don't think their designer, like Calvin Klein's, were coming out. But I think in high school, like when everyone started getting nice cars.
Cars,
yeah.
that
cars
was
is a big one.
Yeah, and I had a Honda Accord. Stick shift, but I loved my car. But yeah, everyone was coming in with their fancy BMW. The kids were coming in with their BMWs, and it was they all just dressed nicely. I was always obsessed with their clothes.
Yeah,
and I guess I never shopped in their stores.
yeah, because probably there'd be the whole budget.
Yeah, I didn't see those clothes in Loman's back room. You're
like, that one understated sweater is my
Daffy Downs.
Yeah.
I mean, we grew up not far from New York, maybe 3 hours from the city, and like even as an adult, like I finally had to commit to, like, if you go to New York, the only way you won't feel terrible about yourself is if you just wear all black clothes. And then even because like any print or anything, like I just never felt like you feel like you stick out, right? Because are just not good enough or not fashionable enough for whatever you're there for. And even then, like now, if I've switched to just like a solid black clothes, I'm like, these aren't the right ones. They still look like you don't belong. Like I'm like, how do you make your clothes look nice? And I think the answer is like a tailor, which is a step I'm not willing to take yet. It's intimidating to be that close to to that much money. And I say I'm from Connecticut, and people are like, oh, and I'm like, right, but not that part. Like, not the old money, which is like where the impressive assholes are. Like, we live close to the new money, and then they just look like dicks. Like, I don't know. I've never gotten totally comfortable with it, or it's taken me like a long time to figure out that the disparities are so great. Like now I'm in LA, and my parents came to visit me back in March, and I was like, you guys don't understand. Like, I thought I knew what people with money looked like. It's different. I had no idea.
I think mostly I wanted their big houses.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you have like a thing where you know how going to someone's house, that was like a big thing to do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they all had big houses, like mansions, and they had parties there, and it just was like another world. I definitely felt like, the poor little girl walking in. But that's funny, because when I talk to my friends, their perception of what my high school years were like are so different than mine.
Right.
They'll say, oh,
they were
like,
in that school. They were
they're like, oh, you were so popular, you were this, that, the other thing. And it's just like, I'm like, that's not how I remember it happening.
Yeah, you're like, I felt different. But meanwhile, they're like, oh, Felicia's so skinny and pretty. She has the coolest outfits. And you're like, I wore weird clothes and I didn't want anybody near me. Did you have people over to your house, or would you keep them away?
No, I'd never. Yeah. And they definitely didn't come home with me in my dad's car. I did. I used to jump. I used to like jump out and run in really quickly.
Your poor dad was probably like, what?
Yeah, what is wrong? He was clueless, which was, I guess, was good. He didn't know. But yeah, so
did your
mom know?
brothers oh, go ahead. Yeah, did your mom know?
I was gonna say, did your mom know what was going on and that sort of thing?
not, she was also kind of clueless. Not clueless. I don't think they really realized that it was such a big deal. They didn't think about it. And it's like a kid thing. You don't think about that stuff, I think, when you're older as much.
Yeah.
Or you'll
Right,
notice
they're thinking
it, but
about
you're like,
real problems.
Yeah, they're like,
Yeah.
no, this is gonna get you into a great college, so you're doing great. You're like, I want to die.
Yeah, that's all they really cared about. You're getting a good education, you're going to go to a good college, and suck it up.
Figure the rest out.
So did your brothers go to the same school that you went to, or did they go to a different
No,
one?
they went to the public school.
Oh, okay. So did they have like a completely different experience?
Yeah, completely. They were happy.
I was gonna say
Friends over all the time.
They did. It was like my middle brother maybe he was a little jealous that he didn't get to go to private school.
Yeah. I was wondering if they would have wanted to go or if they were happy to not.
Yeah, my older brother was perfectly happy. The middle one probably wanted to, and they both always say when they die they want to come back as me. They thought I was like this, because being the youngest and the only girl, they just thought I was like spoiled to pieces.
Sure.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I was spoiled a little bit.
It happens. It happens with the daughters, especially if there's only brothers.
Yeah.
Did you, when you went to college, did you seek out something similar to the private school, or did you seek out something similar to your public school?
Good question. I think it started a lifelong of seeking to be friends with those type of people.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yeah.
Yeah. But I ended up becoming friends with, the good people.
Yeah.
Not that you can't be a rich person that's good. There are.
But you can get a vibe of like if someone is going to be a valuable friend to you, or if someone is going to be a valuable acquaintance. You're like,
yeah. I think in general, what I find everywhere is people are friendly with people that are similar to them.
Yeah.
Because that gives them comfort and they could talk freely and have things in common.
Yeah.
So yeah. But college probably was the same thing.
You're like me, secretly killing it, but inside feeling like I'm bombing.
Bringing back more traumatic memories at the moment.
But it sounds like all of your trauma was just in your head. Like you were crushing it.
Yeah, probably. And it's funny. So the moral of the story is my father at a very late age developed a passion and a talent. He had an incredible talent for sculpting.
Wow.
Yeah, and he found it, by chance when my mom dragged him to an art class.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and he became like the most sophisticated. He would travel to Italy. He would buy.
When did he go to this class? Like, how old was he when he went to the class?
He was in his like mid 40s.
Wow.
Okay. And he won all kinds of awards. And and I think he had really good eye-hand coordination, which enabled him to, transfer that skill to sculpting. So when he went to the class and he sat down, the teacher felt bad for him, gave him a piece of clay, and he just whittled it and made like a perfect, bust of my mom's face.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah. And the teacher was like amazed, and it started a lifelong passion. And he, was in the end very inspiring to me, and I found comedy very late.
Yeah.
And so the tagline to my one-woman show is it's never too late to find your marvelous.
Yeah, that's awesome.
From the miserable Mrs. Madison to the marvelous Mrs. Madison.
That's such a great story.
Yeah, it was interesting because I had two stories that I wanted to tell, because the miserable Mrs. Madison came from my pilot that I wrote about my life, Upper East Side Mom by Day, stand-up comic by night. And when the marvelous Mrs. Maisel came out, it ruined my pilot.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like I joke that it was a good thing when I saw the promotion for it, I was on the ground floor, because when I jumped out the window, I didn't die.
Yeah.
So that was one story. And then the other story was the story of my father and our relationship, and this whole like intertwining of our lives, and how in the end I was so proud of him, but it was too late because he was like on his deathbed.
Oh.
Yeah. So whenever I tell people that story, they're like, "Oh my God, I love that story." And so I figured out a way to intertwine them, but I still have to figure out a way to rework it and do it again. I just don't have the
Take
time or
Mrs.
the
Maisel
energy.
out of there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a cool story.
Yeah, it's really incredible. Really what he accomplished. And I didn't realize it till it was too late.
Wow.
So, yeah. But
It's like, this is terrible. I love your purse.
we're supposed to make people cry during this or laugh.
We can do anything, whatever emotions.
It's our time.
Yeah.
Oh,
So yeah,
that's
and I make
such a
fun of my
great
mom
story.
a lot, so she never saw it.
that's fine.
She has a whole other show about her. I'll have to figure out.
I like all moms with their own show.
Yeah.
It's a thankless job.
Yeah,
Call that.
exactly. That's the name of your show. Yeah.
You know what's funny? I'll play this with you guys because I was actually thinking of a new name for my show, and I was thinking of Lohmann's in a Tiffany box.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking, I really want to do Lohmann's in a Bergdorf box, but I don't think enough people know what Bergdorf's is.
The Lohmann's people might not know, but the other people.
Yeah, that's the problem. And a lot of people won't know what Lohmann's is either.
Right.
Yeah.
My younger generation will have no idea. I could do Kmart in a Saks box. Maybe it would be.
Everyone would know that. Yeah. You should just call it a thankless job.
It's a thankless job. I'm writing that down.
I like that.
That's sort of like, when people ask me what my persona is in comedy, it's like an unhappy mom.
That's perfect.
Which is basically like every mother out there. So, yeah.
All right. Well, Felicia, where can folks find you online? Where can they follow you, see what you're up to?
Felicia Madison Comedian on Instagram and also on Facebook. And it's Felicia L. Madison. My married name is Levy, but I go by Felicia Madison, which was my maiden name. That was the one good thing my parents
You have
gave me.
a great name.
I know. My parents gave me, they didn't have money, but they gave me a great name.
Yeah, that's a
Worth
great
more.
name. Yeah.
And I do have a new show out that's on Facebook now, also on YouTube, called The Broadish Show.
Awesome. And we'll put links for both of those in the show notes so you guys can find it there. And then don't forget to like, subscribe, review, all that cool stuff. And we actually are on YouTube now too. So look for pinkypromisepodcast.com. And Felicia, thank you so much.
This was fun.
Yeah.
A little traumatizing, but fun.
I know. That's what we do.
That's our tagline.
Yeah. Honestly, if we had a show, it'd be like a little traumatizing, but I had fun. Every person that comes on has not left the show without saying, "Oh my God, I never thought of that about my childhood."
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, we just wanted to be therapists, but we didn't have time to get a PhD, so we do this podcast.
It's very fun. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.